Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Alicia Elizabeth and I am so excited that you've decided to join me here today for another YouTube video. If this is your first time here, hello. If you are a returning subscriber, hey. To the both of you, grab a snack, get comfortable. I think we're going to be here for a little while. Today I want to talk about 3 ways to like and love yourself more. 3 ways that you can start today. Quiet as it's kept in this day and age of social media where everyone appears to be online just super confident and loving themselves and just having it all figured out. In the privacy of their alone time and in the privacy of their home, I'm here to tell you that a lot of us still have a lot of heart work, not hard work, but heart work that we need to do. And so today I just want to get you started on your journey of liking and loving yourself more, which sometimes can feel especially hard when you end your day in your home alone. And when I say alone, I'm not discounting roommates, but especially when you don't have anyone in the home with you. Okay, so before we dive into these 3 points, I just want to make a few statements and just get the conversation started to open up some doors about things, call out some myths. And if you feel like any of these relate to you or you can find yourselves in them, then stay tuned. Okay, number 1, your partner, your significant other, they will not be the reason you are happy. Right? They contribute to your happiness, but they are not there to do the work that you have to do on yourself. Okay. While I have never officially lived with someone, you know, both of our names are on the lease. I've been in relationships, and when I was younger, I went into them thinking like, I just want to be with this person all the time and I'm just so happy with them. And you know, you assume that once you've been chosen, that suddenly all your insecurities go away. Not true. If anything, I believe that when you get into partnership, they might intensify, because when you're in a healthy relationship, this person becomes a mirror and they start to show you the habits and things about yourself that when you were journeying alone, you didn't realize was an error or was an issue or a problem that you were having. Because think about it, when we're left to our own judgment or our own wisdom and wise counsel, like it's just us, of course we're going to agree with ourselves. Of course we're going to think, I'm just great, I'm perfect, I have life figured out, I'm doing well, my confidence is on 10, my habits are on 10, the way I think is on 10. But it's not until we're in partnerships in time that someone, let me slow down. It's not until we are in partnership sometimes that someone can say, you are very negative. You complain a lot. You don't think too highly of yourself. That we realize, oh my God, I did not spend enough time really being honest with myself and doing the work. And so if you're someone who, you know, your value and your worth is deeply invested in, if you're in a relationship, you depend greatly on your partner and your friends or your roommate to make you feel whole, right? There's a void that you can't tap into or address because when you're by yourself, you avoid it, right? Or you're so uncomfortable that you don't explore it. And maybe you don't have the tools and don't know where to begin. And so when the cameras are off and go time has ended and you are left in the privacy of your home and your space, you're like, ugh, there's so much about me that I don't like, and there's so much about me that I want to change, and I'm overwhelmed. This Living Alone series will be for you. And this video today specifically will get you started. These are in no particular order, right? The videos that's to come will be in no particular order, but these 3 felt like a good starting point. I didn't want to give us an extensive list because the questions and the things that I point out are heavy and they're not to be taken lightly and done quickly, okay? And I'm sharing with you things that I've done, things that I will still do. Even when I'm married and living with my partner, I think it's good to just check in on yourself as often as you can, to really get back into alignment, right? Because no one wants to be in a relationship where this person depends on them like they are God. That's heavy and that's difficult to partner with. And we all have to be careful not to do that, okay? So number one, I want you to ask yourself this question. Who am I? Whose am I? Right? And so, of course, my content on my channel is for believers. And when you really sit down and you say, who am I? Well, this requires you to really understand whose image and whose likeness you've been made in, right? And so I remember being an undergrad and I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm a thickie. I've been a thickie all my life, probably gonna be a thickie all my life, right? I'm trying to be a healthier thickie, but I'm a thickie. And when I was in my early, 18, 19, 20, that's what I was fixated on. I'm thinking just about my physical image and just so adamant about getting in shape. And I'm like, and I will never, I've always said this before, I'll say this on here. I was never someone who talked poorly about myself. I may have thought poorly of myself in my younger years because I didn't know better. But I feel like if I'm recalling correctly, in my early years of wanting to, lose weight in my young adult life, like I knew I was a plump woman and I never felt like it was the reason I wasn't getting into relationships. I was also a picky person, right? So my friends will tell you I was telling guys no, right? And I think that's because while I was like overweight, and I still am, I never thought that should be the reason I have to settle or deal with nonsense. So I never fully blamed my weight on, it was never like when I thought I wasn't giving stuff, it was because of my weight. But I didn't have the healthiest outlook of myself. And I was fixated on my weight in the privacy of my own home. You know what I mean? Always on a diet, always wishing that I was just maybe more in shape for certain looks that I wanted to go for. So it was something that was in the back of my mind when, again, you're by yourself, lights, camera, action is done. What do I think about myself? Who am I? Right? And I mean, those videos are archived right now. I'll bring them back at some point. But I share how I like to think now in my 30s, if I met someone and I went on a date for the first time and I'm introducing myself, I would never say, hey, my name is Alicia. I do this for a living and I weigh this much. Yet in my 20s, in my early 19, 18, those years, that was what I felt was such a big description of me. So who am I? Whose am I? So I really sat down and I'm like, God, you said you made me in your likeness and in your image. What does that mean? Whose image and likeness was I made in, right? You gave me dominion over what and why? Why? Why did you think so highly of me? Why should I think so highly of myself, right? Really unpacking that opened up a lot, like a huge can of worms for me. And I was challenging myself, unbeknownst to me, to take on the mind of Christ in the sense of, this is my creator. What does my creator think of me? What did he have in mind when he was creating me? And what was he, you know how you make something, right? If you're a cook or a baker or whatever you do, whatever tangible product that you finish and you feel good about, I'm like, God, what did you put on the table and was like, that's the one, that's the one. What did you think about when I was finished? The word of God says that he said it was good. I was good. What about me was so fire and so bomb? Whose am I? Who am I? Right? And so, of course, you're thinking, whose am I in the spiritual sense, but then you also should think about your parents. Who did I come from? Who are my natural parents? Because this is what takes so much shape of who we are and how we see ourselves, and maybe a good starting point of what we need to unpack, correct, discuss, address, all that, okay? So number one, who am I? Whose am I? Both on the spiritual and the natural. Just get a framework, a foundation of like, what's our starting place, right? Number two, and I guess I jumped ahead. Who does God say that I am? And what does he think about me? So I know that some people will watch this video and they're like, I don't want to think about my mom and my dad. That is a trigger. That is a trauma. It comes from a very hurtful place. I don't want to draw myself back to them. I can respect that, honey bun. I'm not asking you to intentionally traumatize yourself. And I'm not saying, if we're going to really be honest and get super spiritual and in the meat and potatoes, I'm not saying that who your mom and dad is where your description of who you are stops. Not at all. I'm generalizing the fact that these are your parents, and along the way of living alone, the household that you did or did not grow up in, the parents that you did or did not have, the relationship that you did or did not have with them impacts you. It's no getting around that. It's no getting around that. And so being able to call it out for what it was, even if it takes you some time, is so helpful to you, because as you learn to like and love yourself more, you want it to be from a honest and accurate way of seeing the world and seeing yourself, right? So I'm confident enough to tell y'all that I am a muffin. I'm a honey bun, right? I'm a meal. But if I wasn't honest enough to say like, I'm unhealthy, then I'm not helping myself, right? Now, don't get it twisted. Even when I was in my fitness bag, which again, my subscribers know, I could outrun a lot of people. I could outjump a lot of people, and I was still a muffin, but I was a healthy muffin, right? But my point is to not get off track. I want you to start in the most honest place. And so if it's too traumatic, I can respect that. You can circle back. Again, none of these are in any particular order. It's just something to put it on the board to get to when you can, okay? So number 2, who does God say that I am? The reason why I circle back to this is because after you figured out who your parents were in a natural sense, after you start with, okay, whose am I? I'm a child of God. Then you have to make sure you focus on the standard that matters. So this cancels out, maybe your upbringing and your parents, and it goes into just the creator. Who does God say that I am? Because we do come from households where our parents may not have spoken highly of us. We do come from households where we were talked down to. We do come from households where we were violated and disrespected. And so once we have that out there as something we need to address, we want to put the king on his throne and make what he says the standard. Who does God say that I am? Because that is what I'm going to believe. That is what I will lead from. And that is what I aim to say about myself. And if I was made in his likeness and in his image, and if he said it is good, and if he gave me dominion and authority, baby, and that's just snippets of what he thinks of me. And if I was made in his likeness, then I got to talk about who he is. Boo. Boo. I'm not saying that your household just gets thrown out the water, but when you can correct, when you can take what happened and what should have happened, when you can take what was said and what should have been said, you can do some correcting. You can start doing the work, right? You can start addressing some things. Okay? So it's important to know, who does God say that I am, and what does he think of me? What does he think of me? Because after I figure out what God thinks of me, now I can start telling these boys that I don't care that you're talking about my food, but I don't care that I have a flat butt. I don't care that I have small breasts. I don't care. Like, I care about my health, but I don't care about those things because my creator elevated something more than my physical. My prize and my gems and the riches of me and the essence that you wish you could be a part. Like, it's so much bigger than this flesh. And you can say that confidently, not just repeating it because that's what you've been told to say, but you understand that your creator values something so much more when it comes to you. There is something so sweet about you that won't be seen with the carnal eye. And you sleep good at night when you know that. Number 3, what do I think and believe about myself? Alicia, why would you make this number 3? Okay, I'm glad you asked. First, we have the natural, what's my baseline? Then we have, what does my creator say about me? But then we also need to call out the errors in how we speak and think about ourselves. The same way we correct maybe what our household did wrong and our parents and our siblings may have done wrong, we gotta say to ourselves, okay, what do I like about myself? Wow, this is really difficult. This is a difficult list. well, let me see, what don't I like about myself then? Let me see what I don't like. Okay, that list was easy to make. Okay, what are my strengths? Wow, that's difficult. Well, I know what my weaknesses are, so let me write those down. Because the way you think about yourself, your perception of yourself is also something that you have to correct. And so the same way we call out our natural upbringing, who our parents were, what home said about us, then we figure out what the Lord and what the Word of God says about us. We also have to call ourselves, put ourselves out there on a rug and say, hold on now. If the Lord that God gave me authority in my mouth, if my tongue is powerful, what have I been saying to myself for 18 years? What have I been saying about myself for 22 years? What have I been thinking about myself for 25 plus years? Excuse me, because it's time to correct those things today. And none of this is a one night thing. None of this, which is why I said 3. We're gonna start small. Because you have to be honest with yourself to do this kind of work. And you know what? If I'm gonna be completely honest with you, it can be done in your relationships, your boyfriend and girlfriend spaces, your husband and wife spaces. But I believe, as someone who's done it by myself, I believe that it is just so sweet to be able to do it when no one is around for a period of time, so that you can really grieve how you were thinking about yourself and how in error you were. I think that is so crucial. I mean, when I think about my relationships, if I started this work while I was in them, it wouldn't be impossible and it wouldn't be difficult, because if you have a healthy partner, a very healthy and helpful partner, they're going to help you, look at yourself and do the work. And that's so nice to have someone, alongside you to do it with, and who can reassure you as God strips things out and pulls things out of you, who can help build you back up. But ooh, it is something to come out of this and be like, okay, now I'm ready to make an informed decision about the life I want to have, because I've done some foundational work in my alone time. Now I can make a better judgment call of who I want to date, what kind of partner I need, what kind of household I want to, create for my kids, what I want to take from, my upbringing, and what I want to leave behind, right? So if you live alone, this gets hard. But baby, it is so necessary, and it gets better every time. Every time. It gets better every time. And it's going to lead to some nights of snot and tears, and some, just discomfort, and just a lot of questions and a lot of unraveling. But the God I serve, He also does a lot of filling, a lot of comforting, a lot of reassuring, a lot of conversing, and it's so good. It's so good in the end. So if you are someone who lives alone and it's been difficult for you to live alone, I want you to start looking at why. Again, this is not a video encouraging you to team live alone, team single for life. I don't believe that is what we were created to do, or, we're here to be and all that. No, I think we need community. We want partnership. And some of us maybe want to be single, but I'm saying we are not created to be islands. So that's not what this message is. But in this season of living alone, I want you to take the time and do the work. Do the work that is so easy to avoid because you busy yourself with social media and going out and partying and shopping and working and dating and eating and having sex and everything else, and social media and falling in love and breaking up and having friends and changing your style. All this stuff, all this outer body experiences, and our inner is just toe up from the flow up. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. Comment below your thoughts if you want. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.